Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome back to Blu-Roy Movies. How are we all doing? I hope we're doing really, really well. Yeah, it's Sunday morning, so it's time for the weekly watches. And the weekly watches, I thought this week might be a bit empty because I've been a little bit busy at work this week. Nothing compared to a lot of people, but for me, quite busy. So I was a bit concerned at one point that I wouldn't have much to talk about, but I've somehow managed to fit 8 films into the equation, which I don't know whether that's me with a cinematic problem. I've just got to keep watching films or what. Probably is, yeah, but never mind. Anyway, so let's crack on with this. Let's tell you what I've been having a look at today, this week, shall I? Actually, just before I do start talking about the films, just a little push stroke self promotion. Tomorrow night, Monday night, the 20 something of July, I don't know what date it is. I'll be appearing over on Ali's live stream over Ollie Loves Film. I think there'll be myself, Ollie, I think Jim, yeah, Jim's back on. Jim's always good for a laugh. I think Ella is on as well this week, and probably a couple more I'm not sure about. So if you could please find your way over there for just maybe a few minutes tomorrow night, just to support me, support Ollie, and we usually have a bit of a laugh. Them guys can get a bit anorak on me. God, they know some stuff. I get by on good looks and quick wit half the time, but them blokes just know every film and who directed them and who starred. I'm a bit out of my comfort zone sometimes. So just come over and I'll just give a thumbs up and show us a bit of support. So anyway, let's get on with what I've been watching this week, shall I? I kicked off the week with Air America from 1990, directed by Roger Spottiswoode. I'm sure I watched something else by him recently, but I can't remember what it is. Mel Gibson's in this with Robert Downey Jr. and Nancy Travis. And now I've watched this a week ago and don't remember a lot about it, which is maybe telling me something, but I do remember actually quite enjoying it as I was watching it. A little action thriller that was never going to change the world, but it was pretty enjoyable. It centred around Robert Downey Jr. and Mel Gibson. Now, Downey Jr., he was one of these guys who flies a helicopter and reports on the news and got a bit over cocky with something he was reporting on and lost his job. So at that point, I thought it was going to be Downey Jr. being his typical cocky arsehole self, which, don't get me wrong, he does really well. But then he joins this covert Air America, which was in South America, I'd like to say now. As I say, it's been a while. Based in South America, I think. Running guns and stuff like that for the government that is all hush hush. Yes, I thought Downey Jr. was going to be this cocky character like he normally plays, but when he got to this covert operation and all the other guys that worked there, with Mel Gibson included, they were far worse than him and put him in the shade, which was quite a refreshing change. Yeah, it was decent. As they got on, the operations they were doing were getting more and more out of hand, running guns, running drugs, stuff like that. I remember a couple of ridiculous set pieces. One of them to hide where they were from helicopters following them. They crash landed into the fuselage of another crash landed aeroplane, which was absolutely crazy. But quite enjoyable. Yeah, I didn't mind that at all. And the 4K looked really nice and was quite inexpensive. So if it's one you're interested in and you think you'd like to add to your collection, it's not going to set you back a pretty penny. Yeah, Air America, decent film. And next up, from the year 2015, directed by Peyton Reed, AntMan with an all-star cast. This has got Paul Rudd, Michael Douglas, Evangeline Lilly, Corey Stoll as the bad guy, Bobby Cannavale, Michael Pena. I love Michael Pena. I always enjoy his stuff. Yeah, Ant-Man. I've started running through the MCU again ages and ages ago, and I come to a halt at Ant-Man for no particular reason why. So I just thought I'd pick up the reins again and carry on with that. Yeah, so I stuck Ant-Man in the play. Got to be over a year ago since I started this run through. I think it was before I started doing these weekly watches, which has been going on. That's been going on over a year now. Yeah, Ant-Man. To pardon a pun, quite a small scale MCU film as they go, but very enjoyable. I enjoyed Paul Rudd in there. He's got a quick wit. Corey Stoll, maybe not the most memorable villain that's been in the universe, but yeah, decent film about this burglar who's given another chance in life to become this new superhero and try and get his life back again personally. Is now divorced and his wife won't let him see the kid because he's been in prison and is quite a flaky individual. Yeah, it's MCU fare. You know what you're into when you get into it. But a decent one at that. Yeah, quite enjoy Ant-Man. What am I on next? I think... And I'm doing it by, not chronological order, I'm doing it by release order. I think next is Captain America Civil War, which I think I've seen that once and remember enjoying it. So yeah, I'll probably get onto that one this week sometime. Ant-Man. Actually, after Ant-Man, and this was totally unplanned actually, but I can see it like how you'd link it together and be a bit of a double bill. I rewatched Downsizing from 2017, directed by a favourite director of mine, Alexander Payne. And again, a really, really good cast. Matt Damon, Christoph Waltz, love Christoph Waltz. Hung Chan, Kirsten Vig, Laura Dern. Now, Laura Dern is in this for one scene, probably a minute or two long, and I think she steals the show. There should have been far more Laura Dern in here. And yeah, I rewatched this, and I remember it getting a lot of flack when it first came out on the scene. What year was it? 2017? So 8 years. How's this 8 years old? Oh my god, the years go by so quick. Yeah, I remember getting this a lot of flack when it come on, and I was quite the defender of it when I watched it because I quite enjoyed it. But now, on a rewatch, it didn't really hold up very well for me, I'm afraid. Which I'm actually quite upset about it because I remember like quite vehemently trying to get that word out, vehemently defending it. It's a fantastic premise about communities and people can shrink themselves to a fraction of the size for the sake of the planet. And obviously if you're going to be a lot smaller, you're going to need to use a lot more natural stuff to get by in life. A fraction of the food, a fraction of fuel. If you're driving around in a little tiny car, obviously you're going to be using a lot of petrol. You could have a mansion of a house comparatively, which is the size of a large box in the real world, and that's not going to take much energy to run it. And the world building, the setting up of the film is fantastic, I think. But the second half of the film, it kind of runs out of steam, and maybe a bit preachy, where they go to the original small person colony in Scandinavia, and they're now going to live under the ground because the Earth, with sea levels rising, is doomed for. So they're going to come back up many years later and carry on the future of humanity, albeit from a smaller scale. And a look at how these smaller people then get cast aside by the larger people. Not cast aside, but more like prejudiced, like a look of it that way. Yeah, and it got a bit preachy that way. But the way it started, yeah, I thought it was great. Damon goes and gets shrunk with his wife. His wife gets cold feet at the last minute and changes her mind. And I'd like to investigate more of that, of him trying to get his wife back. Yeah, it's all right. It's not terrible, but unfortunately not as good as I once thought. Yeah, Downsizing, Alexander Payne. And up next, from the year 2020, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, starring Maya Jovovich, Tony Jaa, Ron Perlman, and that's the film Monster Hunter. Apparently from a computer game. I don't play computer games, so I wouldn't have a clue. Now, I went into this with a very low bar of expectation. I've heard Ollie talking about it on one of the streams. Ollie described it as one of the worst films he's ever seen in his life. Jim, after watching it theatrically, he said it was a pile of shit. So, yeah, wasn't expecting much out of this, but you know what? I was actually quite pleasantly surprised. I did enjoy it. It's nothing that's going to win any awards, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, I thought it was all right. It was all about Jovovich. She was the leader of not a platoon of soldiers, a company maybe. Well, it's two vehicles full of American soldiers. Is that a company? I don't know. I don't know much about the military. But they're driving along, and all of a sudden this huge storm comes along, and they're suddenly transported into another realm or something that's ruled by monsters. And it all kicks off from there. There's some great action scenes. There's some great fighting scenes. She comes across a local of this alternative realm stroke planet played by Tony Jaa, and she doesn't get on with him at first, but then they form a relationship and join forces, and he leads her to this underground group of people that are fighting the monsters, and she has to try and battle them back to get back to the realm that she's accustomed to. Yeah, it was good action. I just enjoyed it. It just hit with me. I'm actually quite a fan of Paul W.S. Anderson. I know he's renowned for these low bar films, but I tend to enjoy him. And maybe controversially, if I was to do a ranking of directors with the surname Anderson, I don't think he'd come bottom. I'll let you decide which one to come bottom yourself. Yeah, Monster Hunter, it was alright, and I can see myself watching that again. Next up, I had a rewatch of Detour from 1945, directed by Edward G. Ulmer, starring, and a cast I'm not really familiar with, to be honest. Tom Neal, Anne Savage, and Claudia Drake. This is good film noir. This is pinnacle of film noir. I really, really like this film, and one I don't hear many people talking about. This is all about Tom Neal's character Al, his girlfriend Claudia Drake, Sue. Now, they live in New York. Al is a pianist in a nightclub where his girlfriend Sue is a singer. And I think Sue's a bit fed up with this drudgery of living that they do, like they're working all night and sleeping in the day. So she decides to head off to California to try and seek fame and fortune in Hollywood, as a lot of people did at that time, and most of them hit the skids, to be honest. So she decides to go off to Hollywood and leave Al behind, and Al sinks into a bit of a circle of depression as he's missing Sue, and decides to hitchhike over to Hollywood himself to try and renew their relationship. And on the way, he hitches a ride and gets in a ride with this guy, and they decide to share the driving between them. And when it's Al's turn to drive, the guy who owns the car, he's fallen asleep and it starts raining. And as it's a convertible car, Al decides he wants to put the roof up and stops the car and tries to wake up the owner just to say he's putting the roof up. The guy's like really fast asleep and he's struggling to wake him up, so he opens the door, to which he falls out still fast asleep, cracks his head on a rock and kills himself. And Al realises he's in a predicament now, as if he calls the police. Hell, they're not going to believe him, are they? Like, this guy just happily cracked his own head on a rock. They're going to think he killed him. So he decides to hide the body, steal the car with the aim of ditching it as he gets into Hollywood and carrying on the journey. But he then stupidly picks up this woman played by Anne Savage Vera, who previously got a ride with this guy. Like, what are the odds of that? And realises that he's not the owner of the car, who then she then like turns to blackmail and all that good stuff, and leads him further into a life of crime, or she's going to tell the police and dob him in. Yeah, really, really great film. I really enjoyed this film. Got all the elements you want. The femme fatale, the crime, the double crossing. It's all there. It's your classical film noir. It does what it says on the tin. Yeah, really, really good film. And I think it's like an hour and 10 minutes long. So a nice, quick, easy watch. I'd recommend wholeheartedly, if you like noir and you haven't seen that, to grab a copy of that on Criterion. Just an awesome release of an awesome film. That's Detour. Up next, from 1973, directed by William Friedkin, an all-time favourite of mine. I absolutely adore this film. The Exorcist, starring Ellen Burstyn, Linda Blair as Reagan, Jason Miller as Father Karras, Max von Sydow as Father Merrin, Lee J. Cobb, Kitty Wynn as the kind of housekeeper type woman. And what a film this is. It's a film that I've seen it countless times, and every time I watch it, it just gets better and better. You know, it might be even challenging the top spot for me. The top spot's Blade Runner, but this is running it close. And again, a film I watch over and over again. I mean, I started my Letterboxd account in 2021, and this is my fourth watch, so I pretty much watch it every year without fail. The story of Regan, this little girl who, after messing about with a Ouija board — don't mess about with Ouija boards, guys. I actually don't get into that stuff. I do believe in this sort of stuff as well. I know, like Tim famously always says he don't believe in ghosts, but that's what scares me about these films, because I think there's something going on about there. I do believe in the greater good, so you've got to believe in the greater evil at the same time, just to balance out the two things. I think the atmosphere, the acting on it, the creepiness of it, the tension as it ramps up and just makes you more and more tense as the film's going along. It's absolutely wonderful. Like I say, one of the best films for me ever made. The icon, that's just such an iconic scene in a film, isn't it? Max von Sydow is about to go in to perform the exorcism, and it's just perfectly cast. Ellen Burstyn as the mum, who's slowly losing it, as poor Reagan, who's brilliant in this, sinks further and further into this demonic possession. Jason Miller's Father Karras, the priest who, along with battling the demons, is battling himself after the death of his mother and battling his own faith, and that's just a wonderful part of the film. Max van Sydow are born to play Father Merrin, in my opinion. Lee J. Cobb as the cop, this hard-bitten cop with a bit of a soft spot. I'd love to go watch films with Lee J. Cobb in this film, because he sounds like a movie buff. It's just fantastic. I haven't got enough superlatives for the film, and I know a lot of people run down the 4K transfer, but I think it looks really nice. The best it's ever watched the film. I made the mistake of watching the theatrical cut. I wasn't really paying attention when I put it in the player, so I missed the spider crawl down the stairs. But there you go. When I watch it next time, which will probably be not too long ago, I must remember to watch the director's cut. Yeah, Friedkin, rest him. He was the master, such a great director. A film I'll just carry on enjoying for years to come. And next up, from the year 1962, directed by Tony Richardson, who's actually becoming a favourite director of mine. He directed one of my favourites, The Entertainer, Look Back in Anger, and another one, A Taste of Honey, all from the Woodfall set that I've been ploughing through, which is one of these. And another great film of his. I really enjoyed this. Great cast again. Michael Redgrave, Tom Courtenay, James Boland, who you probably know from the Likely Lads, John Thor, who's probably a blink and you miss appearance, because I must have blinked and missed it because I don't recall seeing him. Arthur Mullard, such a wonderful old British actor, English actor Arthur Mullard was. That's The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, and what a great film this was. I really, really enjoyed this. Michael Redgrave plays the governor of this borstal that Tom Courtenay gets put in. And, I always used to think of Tom Courtenay as like an older actor, which I appreciate he is now. But I never really appreciated him as a younger actor until I watched the likes of this and Billy Liar, another great film, which I must get a copy of that. I haven't got a copy. He was really a good young actor. Yeah, he plays this guy who goes off the rails through his family background, really. His dad's died. His mum was seeing other guys behind his dad's back before he died, and his body's still warm when she moves this sort of like arsehole boyfriend into the house, and he goes off the rails and pals up with James Bolam, and they go on a sort of a bit of a crime spree together, stealing cars, and they get caught after raiding the office of, I think it was a bakery it was a bakery. They raid the office and raid the wages tin or whatever it was, and he gets caught and gets put in this borstal, and the governor of the borstal, Redgrave, he recognises this running talent in him and gets him doing this cross-country running when this borstal is going to challenge this local boarding school, this preppy posh school, to a sports day, and putting all his hopes and dreams that Courtney could take down the boarding school and put the prison on the map. Really, really enjoyed it, seeing Courtney's sort of, because it was intersped with looks at how he got into trouble, like seeing that part of it, and then maybe the redemption arc of him finding long distance running something he really enjoyed. Yeah, I love these kitchen sink dramas. I think it was a really important movement in British cinema, and one that I really, really enjoyed. That Woodfall set, it's just been full of gems of English cinema, and really been enjoying playing my way through it, and got another three to go. I think Tom Jones, Girl with Green Eyes, The Knack and How to Get Away with It. So yeah, really looking forward to carrying on. I'm not really into hymns or anything, but my favourite is Jerusalem, and this used Jerusalem in such a fantastic way. It was melancholic when it needed to be, when that suited the film, and uplifting when that suited the bits that they were scoring it to. And I had Jerusalem stuck in my head all day, which is not a bad thing, because, like I say, it's my favourite hymn of all time. Not being a deeply religious person or anything, but I do like Jerusalem. Yeah, The Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, another film I can highly recommend. Yeah, wonderful stuff. Oh, we've had to pause the weekly watches because the cat's kindly bought me a present. So let me deal with this, and I'll be right back. Right, apologies for that, guys. Honestly, that cat's a bloody menace. I've never known a cat like it. The stuff it gets. I'm not telling a lie. There's one night in the week, I think it's about last Monday night, 3 times he woke us up in the night. 2 birds and a mouse. He's on absolute terror. He's had more things than all the cats I've ever owned in my life put together. He's certainly a hunter. Anyway, back on with the weekly watches, and we're on the last one. What was I saying? I was saying how good that film was. Unfortunately, to level it out, Permissive. God, this film was terrible. Permissive from 1970, directed by Lindsay Shontiff, starring Maggie Stride, who I'll be amazed if you've heard of, because apart from this film, she was in 1 episode of EastEnders and 1 episode of The Bill, I think, and that was it. Gilbert Wynne, Gay Singleton. What a good name that is, isn't it? Gay Singleton. God, this film was bloody terrible. Now, I was looking through my BFI collection and I come across it, Permissive, and I don't even know how it got there. I can't even remember buying it. I think maybe I must have seen it in CX or something and just picked it up on the strength that it's a BFI release, because BFI are normally pretty solid with their releases, but this film was bloody shit. It's all about Maggie Stride's character. She's this girl who goes and lives in London despite only knowing one person, an old school friend, and she goes to stay with her. Now, this girl that she stays with, she's the girlfriend of a member of this like progressive rock band, like it's 1970. So this long-haired band, this progressive rock band, which that was the best part of it. Actually, some of their music wasn't too bad, and then you get this woman's character arc from this mild, meek girl, quite shy, into groupie for this band where she was basically shagging her way through the whole band, for lack of a more polite way of putting it. But it was terrible. It was boring, terribly acted. I'm not surprised this woman went on to EastEnders 1 episode, and awfully shot. The sound was mixed terribly. Like, you could hear clearly what some of the characters say, but some of the other dialogue was very muffled. And I wouldn't say it was soft porn, but it wasn't far off. There wasn't much story progression between her going round these different band members, and then she ended up with the boyfriend of the girl that she went to stay with, so their relationship hit the skids. Yeah, I can't recommend this. It's boring, it's dull. With it being about rock band, there's hair everywhere, and I mean literally everywhere, be it 1970s. Yeah, it was shit. And I can't see myself keeping this in the collection. I think I'll definitely be moving on. I think it trades in for about a tenner at CEX, so I'll probably trade it in and get something that I'll appreciate more in the collection, because Permissive, Right, that was it for the weekly watches. Thank you guys as ever for watching. Never fails to blow me away how many people actually sit and listen to me talking this crap. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling. I'll be back. I'll be back in the midweek. I might do midweek. Ollie did his films from childhood, the films that influenced him as a kid, and I might attempt something similar midweek. So yeah, let me know if that's something you'd be interested in. But anyway, as I say, thanks for sticking around and all your support. Really do appreciate it. I love your comments and talking to you guys. It's, other than my family, and that is probably one of the best things in my life. Yeah, I really like it. Getting soppy now. It's not like me at all. So yeah, give me a thumbs up. Enough of that. Give me a thumbs up. Maybe think about subscribing if you want to hear more of this. I'll catch you all later. Yeah, all be good. Have a good rest of your weekend and take care. Ta-ra.